Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen of the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, we'll go through my trade for the week first and then progress into the analysis second. If there is a particular pair you want to skip ahead to, feel free to do so on the timestamps below. But I only had one position this week on Euro CAD, which ended up in a loss. Price was looking pretty good, had some good momentum in my favor, but unfortunately the market didn't get that continuation. And a nice impulse to the upside. This was kind of our correction, but we didn't get the follow through. The market kind of rolled over to the downside. Looks like we're having a deeper retracement anticipated. Had some good confluence for the entry down here at a nice level we were retesting, and also came to the 50% of the fib. Good entry signal, but unfortunately the market looks like it's rolling over. So unfortunately a loss this week. Again, not really too active in the markets, but again, when I do see opportunity and I'm there, I will look to take it. Unfortunately, this one ended up in a loss. But we'll move on. There's some good opportunities this week. Starting with Euro USD as always. This one looks okay. I mean, the real opportunity was last week, which unfortunately I did miss quite early on. A really nice retest of that resistance and support. This is what we're calling for last week on the last week's analysis. Really nice retest of the structure. Had a nice impulse to the upside. Well, it was quite corrective, but we did gain momentum. Had a nice retest, looking for the higher low and the continuation back into that resistance. So really nice move there to the upside this week for Euro USD. However, now it looks like the market's starting to struggle to break through the highs. So again, the market is still bullish for Euro USD. You haven't broken through any significant structure. The market's still pushing up. Yes, we haven't created new highs, so that is a bit of a red flag for the buyers, but the higher lows are still intact. So I still expect more upside for Euro USD as long as we can hold 1.075. So I'm looking at a deeper retracement for Euro USD this week, back into the same support as last week or this week just gone. And from there, if you can hold that support, I do expect to see some more upside for Euro USD, possibly a breakout higher. We've still got the highs here on the left, which Euro USD may look to go and test if we can see some more bullish momentum breaking through those highs. But all I can see now for Euro USD is some buying opportunities. If we break through 1.075, that low, then sure, I'll definitely change my bias to bearish and look for something like this back to the lows on the lower high. But of course, we've got a long way to go before that happens. But if you start respecting this level, I would expect to see some more bullish momentum to the upside. So for Euro USD, it's probably not the best opportunity in the world because obviously the market is not creating higher highs. It would be much better if you did see some new highs and then got the pullback. But it's still a decent opportunity to look at if you can get a good rejection at that support. If we don't get any rejection, price just breaks through, we'll look to change that bias going forward. But this is the plan for next week for Euro USD. Looking to see if we can hold 1.075. If we do, targets back up to the high, or you can target the consolidation here on the left. It's up to you when you want to look to target for your trades. But Euro USD is still bullish, still placing higher highs and higher lows. So we'll be looking at push back up to 1.09 and possibly 1.102 up there if you can see continuation. But that will be the plan for next week for Euro USD. Okay, so next up we've got USD JPY. So USD JPY this week we saw some upside. Price was quite bullish. I was expecting to see more downside with these consecutive lower highs here. 1, 2. Looking for a further one for more downside. We still do have that head and shoulder pattern on the weekly. Left shoulder there, head, right shoulder. Looking at a push back down onto this support level from a weekly perspective, and I still am looking for that move. However, we have broken through some structure here on the 4H, so I am putting a bit of a pause on that bias and looking for shorts for now for USD JPY. As you can see, breaking out that trend line, out of that channel, and also breaking through the highs there as well. So USD JPY, I'm kind of waiting for the market to shift bearish again, give me some more lower lows and lower highs, and then I'll look to hop into some shorts. So a little bit of work to do before I start looking for entries for USD JPY, but this is something I'm envisioning. If the market can break lower, give me a nice impulse down, lower high, retest some price support term resistance, retest that structure around 132, and then I'll look to go lower, look to short that lower high. Or there might be another level that the market creates, but generally around this area is where I'll be looking to go for that next lower high, for shorts to the downside, back down to that support there, and then maybe that support as well if I'm looking to maximize my risk to reward. But USD JPY from the higher time frames, I'm still favoring shorts, even though we have broken to the upside here with this 4H bullish structure. I'm not really looking to follow that. It's not quite convincing yet. It's kind of half-hearted. We have broke through the highs, yes. we're not really seeing too much momentum in the market, and I'm expecting to see maybe another major lower high form and another push to the downside as well for JPY. So the target still remain down there at 128. But again, the structure is bullish, so I need to see some lower lows and lower highs first before I look to jump in. And this is kind of what I'm looking at for next week. You can get a nice impulse down, breaking through some lows here on the left, on the lower time frames. Give me some lower lows, break structure, lower high. Now look for the retest to short to the downside with targets back down at 130, pretty much on the dot. And then maybe 128, I might leave some to trickle back down to that level of support if things look good. But it's still looking at more downside for JPY. I hope we can get some opportunities next week around 132,500 for some shorts. Okay, so now onto USD CAD. So I'm actually starting to really like the price action on USD CAD. The past few weeks have been very corrective, pretty much consolidation. I was talking about some short-term buys from this area here. The market kind of just obliterated straight through that level, no kind of rejection from a bullish perspective. We actually broke through, actually retested from a bearish perspective, but that's not really a high quality trade setup. Kind of still looking for the retest of that consolidation, which gave us that big move to the upside. See if we can take out some weaker lows, test that support level and see some upside. However, the market didn't really give us any type of sign that we were holding that level. So since then, we've broken to the downside, some good bearish momentum, breaking out that big consolidation. And like I said, I'm starting to like the look of it, because if I quickly go into the higher time frames, particularly the daily chart, you can see how the market is very consistent with all these higher lows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so and so on. And we're still looking for that to continue, as long as we don't take out this major low here. We're looking for the market to bounce around this level here. This was the consolidation that gave us that big outburst to the upside, and you can see we're not too far away from that now. So I'm expecting USD CAD to hold this level, which is around 1.346. If you can see some good price action here, we can be looking at some longs for a move to the upside. Oh, didn't follow through there. For a move to the upside. So this will be the plan for USD CAD going forward. There might be some shorts as well, depending which way USD CAD goes, because there is a possibility the market might not test the level, see some upside. We still are looking for the break and retest of this support level. So we broke through that consolidation, haven't really seen a retest of it. So there might be some shorts here, 365 back down again. But if the market kind of just rolls over back down to that support, then I will be looking at a bigger move to the upside as well. So right now, the way I'm looking at USD CAD is we're kind of trading in the middle of nowhere. I'm not really interested in anything in this area unless we push up high into 1.365 or continue a little bit low into 1.346. That's where my interest is, and I'll start looking for some opportunities, some sells up here, and obviously buys down there. So the plan for USD CAD next week is just wait to see when price comes to one of these two important areas, and if we do, we can take advantage of some shorts back down to the same zone, or if we get the buys, we can literally buy it back up to the exact same place. I do expect price to eventually go a lot further as well, but obviously this will be a suitable target to have, a sensible target to have, just in case price respects it and comes back down against you. But this will be the plan going forward for USD CAD next week. Looking at sells here, if we come into that level first at 1.365, or if we come to this level first underneath us at 1.346, which is a bit more likely, we'll look for some longs early next week to take it back up into that resistance for USD CAD. Okay, so onto Euro Pound. So Euro Pound's very corrected. This is a very messy pair. If I zoom out, that's pretty much consolidation, which is horrendous price action. But we are still kind of steadily making these lower highs and lower lows here. If you pay attention, you can see the market's had this swing, pullback, another swing, new lows, and I'm looking at this move being another pullback for another move to the downside. So we're kind of just focusing at the extremes, which is how you want to play consolidation, up high or down low, trying to get involved in the middle here. Yes, you might find some decent trades, but overall, just generally speaking, from a probabilistic standpoint, that's where the most indecision is in a range, and a consolidation, in the middle. So you're going to have a lot of unnecessary wicks around, as you can see here. Big wicks to the upside, wicks back down again, random wicks there. All these wicks will be taking out people's trades. If you focus up high, yes, you still can get wicked out, but the probability is much less, which is as traders, that's what you want to be focusing on. So going into next week for Euro Pound, my kind of analysis stays the same. We're looking at another major lower high forming up around these areas here, around 0.884 for some sales for push back down into the lows here at 0.87200, we'll call it. So yeah, euro pound for me is kind of consolidating within the consolidation right now. So yeah, I'm not looking to do anything in that area. Price needs to come up first. I'm not looking to buy down low either. I'm trying to follow this kind of very corrective bearish structure. So I'm not interested in buys down here. So if there's a possibility that price drops to the downside, first without going higher, then I'm not looking for buys. I'm just going to disregard the pair altogether. There might be some buys there, so feel free if you're looking at euro pound on the lower time frames, but that does not fit my plan at all. If you can see a move to the upside, we've got some weak lower highs here with some stop losses probably above that. If you can move into that level there, take those weaker highs out, test the area of confluence, which is that high there, double top it with the trend line. There could be some nice shorts for a move back down again. Price might need to grab liquidity first, test that area before we see a move down. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for euro pound. That's kind of the only thing I'm looking at really for euro pound. So I will be keeping my eyes on 0.88400, 0.88500, and shorts, it could be back down to this level here. Or if you want to push it a little bit further, you've obviously got the low there, so that's going to be up to you. But euro pound, look at more downside. Hopefully you can get a push to the upside first, test that area, and you can get some sales back down into 0.872 for next week. Okay, so next up we've got Aodu USD, which is a pair I'm falling out of love with a little bit. The price action has been absolutely horrendous. What is that? That is consolidation at its finest. On the higher time frames, I do have a lot of clarity. I'm still looking at this kind of corrective bearish trend continuing back down to these lows. So I'm still looking at a lot more downside for Aodu USD as long as this higher time frame weekly trend stays intact. Going on to the 4H, we still do have some good momentum in the market if we look here. So there are some nice low lows and low highs, but since that last kind of big drop to the downside, the market has been very choppy. So I'm kind of waiting for momentum to come back into the market, some lows to get taken out again. Obviously this low here to get taken out, and then I'll be looking for some shorts again. So if you can see a nice impulse bet move there, take out the low, give me a lower high, then I'll look to short that next kind of swing high. Probably on the retest of some structure. The market might create some new structure, which I look to get involved with. Obviously, I have to stay up to date with price action, how it continued during the week. But looking at the market now, that looks like the most reasonable areas to short from on the retest of 0.66350. There could be a scenario where we do break higher. Maybe this bullish trend wants to continue higher, and the market gives a strong bullish move to the upside, and we see a lot of dollar weakness, or maybe AUD does something crazy. Then I'll be happy to follow that, on a continuation to the upside. So I'm perfectly happy going long on the pair as well, but I need to see some momentum, taking out some important highs or taking out some important lows in a direction, and then I'll look to go long on the pullback or go short on the pullback, depending which way we've broken out to. So I'm more than happy to go long on the retest of 0.67500, but I need to see an impulse to break and see this uptrend starting to pick up some pace. Or same with the sales as well. Nice bearish move, take up the lows, and now I'll look to go short as well. But this price action in here is looking like a myth to me. Maybe in the lower time frames, you guys got some clarity there, but 4H, that is ugly price action, and I will not be willing to risk any of my capital on any positions within that area, unless we start taking out some important highs, like I said, or important lows, and then yeah, something could be interesting after that. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for Aodu USD. Breaking retest of 0.66350 or breaking retest of 0.67500. And then I'll start looking at some trades for Aodu USD, but we need to see that breakout first of all for next week. And now onto NZD CAD. So NZD CAD is starting to look very good. I'm liking the structure for this pair, and we do have a good chance the market will probably come into these lows here. I was talking about last week how we've had a few kind of fake big bullish moves to the upside. I was expecting price a couple of weeks ago to actually have that big breakout. Outside of this trend line here, we had the first high, second high, third high there. It looked like at one point we're going to break out, but the market lost all that bullish momentum, came straight back down, tried to do it again, came straight back down as well. And since then, the market has been printing these lower highs, 1, 2, 3, and just about Friday as well. Looks like we're printing a fourth there. So I'm expecting price just to kind of continue this bearish structure, swing to the downside, swing to the downside. And again, I expect another major swing to the downside. And we've also got the full H in confluence as well with these lower lows and also lower highs. So we're just basically looking at the structure continuing back down to 0.834. 83400. I'm looking at two opportunities here with NZD CAD. This one I like the most. If we can have price break back underneath this level, we had a bit of a break, but price recovered quite quickly, so it looks like a bit of a fake out. But if you can break back underneath again, come back and retest that level, you know, potentially look at another lower high, the next lower high. You know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We could be seeing another one, you know, printing it around there, and then look for the shorts, or we might possibly have a deeper pullback and retest the prior high. Because again, as long as you don't break structure, break through some highs, I still do expect the market to roll over. So we could have a deeper retracement into 0.85. Pretty much on the dot up there. So the plan for NZD CAD is only looking at shorts. I'm not interested in longs whatsoever. The structure on the 4H is bearish. Even higher time frame structure is looking bearish as well. So I'm only going to be looking at sells for this one. I really do like that this level here, 1, 2, 3, really strong testable level as well. So if I can use that as resistance, I'll be more than happy to sell from that level. And at the same time as well, as long as we don't break through structure, you know, I'll be more than happy to sell up high as well, as long as we can maintain those lower highs as well. So that'll be the plan for next week for NZD CAD. If we have a deeper retracement, I'll keep my eyes around 0.85. If you can get a nice breaking retest at this level here, find the next lower high around 0.846, I'll be more than happy to short there as well. And targets, we can either look at this low here on the left, just above the high there, which is around 0.838, or if you want to push it a little bit further, you got 0.835 there as well. So that'll be the plan for next week for NZD CAD. Okay, so on to pound NZD. So this week, not really much from this pair. We did create some new highs initially early on in the week, but since then we've been struggling to go past that and kind of a bit of consolidation. Coming into the week, we were looking for buys a little bit deeper though. We were looking for price to come into this trend line here. Had some really nice pullbacks earlier on. So first, second, third test. Looking for a fourth one, and again coming into this week we're looking for another test of that area. Don't want to be buying too high into the structure here. Market's quite corrective. Again, sellers would be looking to jump into the market around these prices. Want price to come a lot lower first into 1.96, and again looking for some buys around this area, keeping it simple, back to highs for targets, or maybe some lower time frame areas if you're looking to take your profit before that. But for pound NZD, I'm still seeing consistent higher highs and higher lows. So I'm not looking for sales yet until we start breaking through some lows and start breaking through some structure. I've got some good confidence here around 1.96. I'll be monitoring price action around these areas, looking for good rejection and some good entry candles. And again, looking to take some longs back to where we came from into that resistance around 1.98300. So pound NZD, keeping it simple. Pretty much the same analysis coming into this week as from last week. Still seeing some really nice bullish moves here for the market for pound NZD. So buys still look attractive, but in this area is a big no-no. Consolidation, sellers are looking to take price lower, since we are failing to create some new highs there. So looking for a drive lower, take out some weaker lows here on the left around 1.965. And then drop into 1.96 for some entries. And if you start breaking through this, I'll scrap that and see what happens next, because if you start taking out some important lows, we could be looking at a bigger reversal and me looking to change my bias completely with pound NZD. But right now, still focus on the longs around 1.96, taking it back to highs around 1.983 for next week. Okay, so onto CAD Yen. So CAD Yen this week really sprung to the upside. I had a bearish bias coming into the week. We were making these consistent lower lows and lower highs, as you can see there. The reason the market didn't continue is because we did respect these prior major swing lows here on the left at 95, and the market just shot bullish straight through that area, breaking through some key highs down the full H. But I still do expect more downside. Looking at the higher time frames for CAD Yen, I'm still looking at a push back down into this level here eventually. So 93, 92, 500 is still my target for CAD Yen in the higher time frame. So I am expecting to see a major lower high develop around these areas here. Maybe we are forming it right now. Maybe we might go up a little bit higher. Maybe we test the consolidation here. So we did have a really nice level of support, which the market broke through. Could see a retest of that. It's a little bit higher, around 99, 120. So we could see a retest of that in the major lower high form. But personally, before I look to jump into any sales for CAD Yen, I want to see some lower lows and lower highs before I look to get involved, because we've already had this impulse move to the upside, respecting these lows, taking out some lower highs here. This could just be the market looking to impulse, correct, and continue and reverse the upside. Again, I do have a high time frame bias of the market continuing lower, but doesn't necessarily mean the market will do that. I could be wrong. The market might want to reverse and go a lot higher. So if I see an impulse, correction, impulse, I'll actually be looking to buy the market on in the next pullback. But as of right now, the higher time frames still look good. 4H, you need to see some bearish price action come back involved, back into the market. Again, something similar to USD JPY as well. Have some broken support there. Retest around 97,500. If you can form some lower lows and low highs around there, or potentially a slightly more aggressive trade, we could actually be looking at the retest of consolidation slightly higher up around 99,120, which is this support level there. We could see a retest of that structure, major lower high form, and see price roll over from that level. I personally am not looking for that. I want price to start giving me some lower lows and lower highs first before I look to get involved. But this again could be that place where we do form that major lower high, so it's worth to look into. But for me, I'll be looking at something like this going into next week with targets back down at those lows at 94.96, well not 95, we'll call it 95. So yeah, that'll be planned for next week for CAD Yen. Keep an eye on the shorts. I'm still bearish bias until he's give us a nice impulse, correction, impulse, and I start seeing some bullish structure, because as of right now, we just had a big impulse. The market could come straight back down after that. We haven't had any follow through of that. But if we do and get some bullish structure printing, then obviously I'll look to change my bias and let you guys know during the streams in the week. But as of right now, I'm still focused on the sales for push back down to 95 for next week. Okay, so pound USD, some more continuation to the upside this week as expected. We were looking for price to come back into 1.24, which is back into this resistance here. We've got one big rejection, second big rejection, and now potentially a third. Obviously, we've seen a slight rejection, but the market is still creating these higher highs and higher lows. So there's still a possibility we could still follow through to the upside and break through. But if we can break through some structure, which is what I'm looking for, if we can break through some structure, break through some lows, give us some lower highs and start a bearish trend similar to what we had here, coming from that 1.24 level, I'll be more than happy to start looking to get involved in these lower highs, retest some levels and take the market back down again. Because if I do zoom out for pound USD, we pretty much got a consolidation here. Key level support around 1.19, key level resistance around 1.24, and the market has just been fluctuating, between this level and that level. So what I want to see is the market break through some structure here on the 4H, give me some lower lows and lower highs. And I'll look to ride the market simply for continuation back down to the lows here. I won't look to swing the whole way, but that'll be the overall kind of analysis for pound USD, because in the higher time frames, I'm still looking at a major lower high developing around these parts here. We have a really big bearish trend line midst in the higher time frames, and I do think the market is going to start struggling around here and maybe start working its way back down. So that's something to think about in the future. But as of right now, the market's having a hard time breaking through 1.24. So we're getting some good signs that, okay, we can get some nice selling opportunities. Again, you can look to sell a little bit earlier. The market comes back into 1.24. Might be some trades around there, but again, that's not really my cup of tea. I want price to start breaking some lows first and give me some lower highs, and then I'll be more than happy to short on that next lower high, maybe retesting this structure here around 1.23. Around 1.23. So that'll be plan going into next week for pound USD. In terms of targets for the trade, like I said, from a looking at from a higher time frame perspective, sure, 1.19 could be a good place to target, but if I can get better risk reward before that, I will be looking at the consolidation here, even maybe this level here as well, depending on the risk reward. If I can get a 1 to 3 to there, I'll target. If not, then I'll look at this low here around 1.205. So pound USD looking good for next week. Hopefully you can see a bit more follow through to the downside first, get some low highs in, and then I'll look to short around 1.23, and then targets probably around 1.205 for next week. Okay, so pound CAD this week, we did see some upside, which we were looking for. However, didn't quite come from the zone I was talking about. I was looking specifically at this 1.666 area. Market came pretty close, did see a reaction to the upside, but is only now testing that level. So I do think we can see some upside from this level. However, number one, we need to wait for some clear signs of rejection, because obviously we are seeing a lot of bearish momentum right now. And there's a possibility we could just open up on the market on Sunday evening, and the market could just break straight through break through straight through the level, and there will be no trade there at all. So we need to see some signs of rejection. And number two, I don't think we'll probably see as much upside as I was expecting last week, because mainly we are forming these lower lows and lower highs here. As you can see, you got a lower high, well, high there, lower low, lower high here, lower low, lower high, and the market can keep doing that. The reason why is because on the higher time frames, we are rejecting a very, very big level of resistance, which previously saw a big sell-off from this area, and we could be looking at, doesn't necessarily have to be a big sell-off like that, you know, even halfway, we could see a lot of downside from this area. So as a result, I think we can see some temporary buys back to retest some areas of support and resistance, and from there we can probably see some bigger sells back down, probably taking it further into this support, and maybe a little bit further. That there are some untested levels around here and around here as well, which the market could possibly be looking to go and test later on. So for pound CAD, I'm looking at some short-term buys, but obviously wait for some confirmation, and that obviously goes for the shorts as well, because we are looking pretty bearish right now. But I wouldn't look to take that trade further than 1.675, this level here, because there's a high chance we could form a lower high and roll back over. So likewise, the shorts here do look pretty good now on a retest of that structure, and we can take those shorts back down into the support level and potentially into some of these areas if you're looking to push the trade a little bit further. But yeah, pound CAD, the bias now starting to shift bearish. We've got some nice bearish structure rejecting a higher time frame level. There could be some buys, it's still taking advantage of this structure here, which is only now being tested. But I don't think we'll probably see too much of a big move from that, and probably see some bigger sells coming into the market, looking at 1.656 into this level and some other levels further down. So that will be the plan going into next week for pound CAD. Okay, so on to pound yen. So pound yen ripped to the upside this week. I was looking for more downside. The market was consistent with the lower lows and lower highs, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking to continue that to the downside. I gave us some levels here, looking for the retest of. The market didn't, really reject it. Price broke straight through. And actually used that support to continue higher, breaking through these highs here on the left. So pound yen, now that we've got the break of that bullish structure, I'm looking at some retracement here and some longs. Two areas of interest I'm looking at, which is this area here being number one and this area being number two. So I'm looking at buys from these levels and keeping it simple, back to highs here. I would suggest the high here on the left, but obviously this is where price is now starting to struggle around 165.300. So keeping up to date with the relevant price action, there's no need to try and look for a few extra pips into the high there. Keep it simple back into that resistance there for pound yen. So that would be the plan coming to this week, looking for retracement, which seems to be in process right now. So this is good. We could be seeing some opportunities fairly early on in the week for pound yen, and looking for buys back into 165.3, 165.400. So yeah, just looking at some buy opportunities here. We've had the break of structure. Now I'm just looking at the next higher low. If the market breaks through both of these areas, I'll probably stay away from pound yen because things get a little bit correct at that point, and could be just forming a bigger consolidation, which I don't really want to be a part of. But we've had a really nice break to the upside. Want to see a retest of these highs now around 163 and also 162. So keep an eye on those areas for some buy opportunities, and keeping it simple, you're looking for a push back to the highs, back to where we came from. So that'll be the plan for next week for pound yen. Okay, so on to gold. So gold, we are still bullish on. Coming into the week was looking at more upside. I said as long as we can remain above this support level, looking at push to the upside, possibly back to 2K. Didn't quite see that, didn't quite see the market test the level there. We tested the consolidation slightly above it, but we didn't quite make it to 2K, but I do think we can probably make that next week as long as we maintain these higher lows. As you can see, we are very consistent with these higher lows, and as long as we don't break structure, I'm expecting another higher low to be forming for gold, and another move back up to 2,000 and possibly further as well. So the plan for next week for gold is looking for that next higher low. We possibly could come back and respect this prior low here, where we saw that momentum come from, as long as we don't break structure. Again, that's the key thing to look out for, as long as we don't break structure. So we could possibly move down a little bit deeper, test the 1960 area and then push up, or we can form a higher low. If it goes to the lower time frame, the lower time frames, the hourly does look quite attractive here. We've got a lovely level here, broken resistance and support, which the market is holding right now, along with that trendline confluence as well. So where we're trading right now, 1970 is an important area. If you can throw some more wicks to the downside, a good shift in momentum for the bulls. We could see a really nice buy signal, take it back to resistance here on the left. and then possibly back to 2K if you want to push the trade a little bit further, or we could see some buys down at 1960 as well. Again, utilizing the hourly time frame, 4H is not that clean. Drops the hourly, things get a lot more cleaner. Looking at these, higher lows, just looking to anticipate the next one, and looking for this bullish trend to continue. So these are two areas of interest for gold that I'm looking at: 1960 and also 1970. We'll call it 1970 here, 1960 down there. As long as we don't break through this low, so which is around 1960, I'm anticipating more upside and only looking for buys for gold. If you do break through 1960, I'll back away. At that point, we might get quite corrective, maybe come back to retest this support again. We've got some lower highs there. We might actually be looking at a reversal for gold at that point. So if you do break through those lows, I'll shift the bias and actually start looking for some lower highs. But at the moment, structure still holding, so we are looking at a push into 2K for gold for next week. Okay, so now on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin really hasn't done much since we last spoke about Bitcoin. Pretty much just consolidation for this one, and again, not really at an area of interest for me. I'm looking at Bitcoin coming a little bit higher, still looking at that 31K area, really big level of support here on the weekly time frame. Looking to see if Bitcoin can go smash its head into that. So that's just above 30K, call it 31K. I'm looking to see if we can come into this level, see what type of price action we can get there, and possibly some sales back down again. And there's also a place for some nice buys as well. There's broken resistance as well, turn support. Again, I haven't had a retest of that area. If I go back on the daily time frame, you can see I haven't had a retest of that area as well. We had this big fake out to the downside, giving us those lows there. The market ripped to the upside. Could look at the market having correction, retesting that level, and then seeing the upside move into that 31K mark, and then possibly some sales back down again if we can respect that area. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin, which is what I've been saying for the past kind of 2 weeks now. For the past 2 weeks, all we've had is consolidation in that particular area. So maybe in the lower time frames, there could be trades, trading at high, selling at high, buying it low again. But I'm not interested in anything in here. Just like in FX markets, I'm not looking to do anything in consolidation. I want to see the market trending, create higher highs and higher lows, which it is doing, but on the higher time frame. So I need to see a bigger pullback for this one, back down to 25K. Start looking for some entries around there in the 4H time frame. There could be some really nice swings for this one to take back into the 31K into those highs. And then if you see some good rejection, there could be some nice sells taking it right back down again, exactly where we came from. So keep an eye on this area for both buys and sells down here and sells up there, because there could be some nice plays from both levels. In the next coming weeks, I'm not too sure. It might take a week, might take 3. But that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin in here. I'm not looking to do anything. It's consolidation, not really at any strong area of value. The markets right now had a big impulse to the upside. So either I want to see continuation into the level or correction to follow that momentum back up again. So that'll be the plan for Bitcoin going into the next week and probably the next few as well. And now onto our bonus pair for this week, which is Euro AUD. So Euro AUD is really taking my fancy. It did take my fancy throughout last week as well, but we didn't quite see the move I wanted to. So hopefully into next week, we can see the move I'm looking for, which is basically a brief sell-off, retracement back down to some of these areas here. Really nice resistance turn support. And I'm looking for some buys with some good confluence at this area of 1.6. For another push back to the upside. We've got also 0.618 fib confluence there, I'm pretty sure. As you can see, put it to the high, as you can see, got the 0.618 there as well. So things are looking really, really good at 1.6, big psychological level there as well. We've got some weak lows here, which people will be buying on the lower time frames. Looking to see if we can go take out those lows, test them more important area, the stronger area, and then I'll be looking for my confirmations to go along there. And keeping it simple, take it back to highs, which at this point is around 1.63. We might push a little bit higher and then sell off. So wherever the highs are will most likely be my end target for the trade. But right now we'll be looking at 1.63 since that's where we're struggling to push through. So hopefully we can see some retracement now. I've been looking for retracement since Tuesday, since we had the consolidation. But the market's still kind of continued, kind of in that consolidation. So hopefully we can break lower, take out some weaker lows there, grab some liquidity to the downside, and then use that to act as a catalyst to get price going to the upside. You can still see we have a nice bullish trend in our midst here, some really nice momentum as well. So again, just looking for that next higher low for continuation back to highs for UAUD. Very, very simple structure, but clean to trade, and that's what I'm looking for in my trading. So Yeah guys, that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you guys have found it useful. If there's a particular bonus pay you want to see for next week, let me know in the comments down below. But if you have found it useful, please be sure to leave a like on the video. It does really help out the channel. And subscribe if you haven't done already. If you are new or don't know what you're waiting for, you haven't subscribed already. Hit the bell as well so you don't miss out any streams or uploads in the future. But thank you so much guys for watching the video and subscribing if you did as well. But yeah guys, have a fantastic weekend and I'll catch you all next week.